Hey YouTube, this is Big Country with Big Country Survival, and this is again the view from my porch. Alright, I like it very well. Um, so back onto my series on commonly not thought about items. What is one thing that people just seem to suggest, and there is good reason for it, but you want a good sturdy pair of work boots or hiking boots. You want good sturdy boots. That is something that is pretty um, pretty common, right? Um, is you want a good pair of boots under your feet, um, protect them and etc. etc. Well, what happens when you can't run to your Foot Locker or wherever it is that you are gonna buy your boots because they wore out, right? Where are you gonna go? Um, so my thoughts, and this one is mentioned as with boot laces, but my thoughts are I'm gonna keep these boots that I've got in as good of shape as I possibly can. Um, you know, uh, I'm going to, I'm going to keep them in as good of working order as I can. Um, you know, uh, so how do you do that, right? Well, when leather gets dried out, it starts to crack, so it becomes weaker, right? So you're going to want some boot polish. You're going to want a boot brush, boot polish, or get you a boot brush. You're going to want that for sure. You're going to want some either boot polish or like mink oil, saddle soap, um, some of those kinds of things. And you're going to want to take care of your boots. You're going to want to, put that product on whatever it is that you choose. Personally, I like mink oil. Um, Good for waterproofing, and that's another inherent advantage is leather boots are usually water resistant, at least up to the certain height that you have holes in them, right? So they're usually pretty water resistant until they become dry and cracked and all that. So you're gonna want to have that mink oil, that boot polish, whatever on them to help waterproof them. And yeah, I know people are gonna be like, well, just buy a spare pair of boots. Well, that's a good idea. It's a good idea to have a spare set of boots lying around. Um, uh, just as a backup, right? Because boots are gonna get worn out. It will happen. All right. Easily enough to deduce. So you're gonna want, a spare, but why waste your money? What happens when that spare set wears out? I mean, prematurely, from your normal, daily life, and you aren't taking care of your boots. The same thing can be said if you wear a leather belt. I do. I'm not a big fan of the web belts, that sort of thing. I like a good leather belt, the metal belt buckle, um, that sort of deal. That's just what's comfortable for me, right? So you're gonna want to use that mink oil. Like I use mink oil on my leather belts. I don't polish them, but I do put mink oil on them. to help keep them lasting longer. Because, you buy a decent belt, it is going to cost you, a decent amount of money, right? Like 20, 30 bucks is the cheapest, decent, genuine cowhide leather belt that I have found. So yeah, you're going to want to have an extra set of boots laying around. And what I would do with that extra set of boots, I'd polish it. And, every month or so, I'd take it out and I would polish them. Or put mink oil or whatever it is that you put on them. I'd clean them off with my boot brush. And then I would put the polish on them. And that's going to keep them better for a longer period of time. Now, another thing for your feet, boot laces I mentioned before, but I do see people with that, and I like 550 cord whenever I wear a pair of boot laces out. I don't typically go buy them. I buy 550 cord, and then I wrap it around a couple of times when I lace them up, and that gives me that much extra 550 cord. So there's that. But insoles is another thing. You're gonna want to have a couple sets of insoles for your boots. Now you get Dr. Scholl's or what have you, but you're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet, most likely. Alright, you're going to be spending a lot of time on your feet. There's no sense in being any harder on your knees and, your joints in general than you have to be. And part of that is, a good set of insoles, that good kind of cushioning. If you have to have like a, what are they called, an orthotic or an insert. You gotta have like an inserts in your boots for, say, you have flat feet, things like that. You're definitely gonna want, to have a couple of extras lying around. So that's that. Now you get whatever kind works for you. Whatever you would normally get, I'm sure would be fine. I'm not going to push, Dr. Scholl's or any of the other brands out there, or any of the brands of mink oil or, boot polish or any of that. I'm not pushing that, because what works for you works for you. There are some good products out there, but, I'm just saying, in general, you're going to want to have a way to take care of your boots and your leather items in general. Like my mag carry, like my mag pouch, I believe it's Romanian. It's an old European military surplus, and there are bits of leather on it. The toggles for latching the flap down to keep my magazines from coming out are they are leather, going into like a little steel or a little metal stud. So what do? I take my mink oil, and when I apply it to those items, so that is an item that I would recommend you keeping on hand, stocking up. Me, on a regular basis, I go maybe a little overboard, but my work boots get polished once, if not twice, a week, and I'm in them 5 days a week, a bare minimum, like 10 hours of a day, and I'm in them. I'm messing around, and I'm dragging my toe. Another thing, you could get you can take it to a cobbler and get an added piece for your toe. That's another option. Way to keep your boots lasting longer without busting through the toes, to have actually a second piece of leather on the toe. But that is predominantly, you would find that in steel or composite safety toe boots. But you could get it in a non-steel or composite toed boot. I'm a big fan of the composite toe. All the benefits of the steel toe and none of the drawbacks. For instance, it's a lot more comfortable. Although I didn't have a big issue with comfort in steel, and it does not freeze your toes like a steel toe would in the winter. So really, I'm probably making the switch to all composite toe. I'm not going to buy a pair of boots, period, whether they be for work or otherwise, that aren't a composite toe. But, you know, it is a way it will keep them lasting longer. Like, here is a pair of steel toes that I have, that I blew through the toe. I still wear them on occasion. That pair is worn to the point that I really don't care about them anymore, so I don't put the polish on them, because it is the kind of boots that I'm going to wear working in concrete and doing stuff. Like, I have that pair solely for the purpose of wearing when I don't want to mess up my boots. Right? It will be for those kinds of jobs, and that's all it is for, is those kinds of jobs. But I wear boots out and I don't throw them away for that purpose, because I will use them for that purpose. But so you got to take care of your boots to take care of your feet. You know, I'm not a big fan of, you know, this cloth stuff, and I like a solid rubber sole. They seem to last. If you would like to get into being like a cobbler working with shoes, to have extra sole material would probably be a good idea. You know, it would actually be a good skill to have, to be a cobbler. But you know, to keep it as brief as possible, just take care of your boots. Stock up on some boot polish, buy you some extra insoles, and get you a spare if you can. But a can of polish doesn't cost that much, a couple bucks. You know, depending on the insoles that you buy, they're a couple of bucks too. You can spend all you want on them. So anyway, that is my thoughts on the subject. This is a big country with big country survival. You know, tell your family and loved ones that you love them every day. Signing out. God bless.